A bell of awakening tolls, and the unkindled rises from his grave in the cemetery of ash. Welcome, everyone, to Dark Souls 3. In this episode, we're going to be taking out the Ashen Judge, exploring the new Firelink shrine, and once again fighting through the high wall of Lothric, except this time a new boss awaits. We start to explore, killing all the scattered hollows that litter the graveyard, and the first item we pick up is the Ashen Estus Flask on a corpse of an elite knight, which is surely a nod to Oscar, right? He was leaning on something that looked suspiciously like a Lord Vessel. There are actually 3 Lord Vessel-like bowls in this episode alone, so see if you can spot them. Bit of a challenge for you. And then there's this message: pull back. And as soon as you read this, you're like, oh shit, I gotta go back. This isn't safe. What if there's an asylum demon down here, or an ogre guarding treasure, or a giant crystal lizard that drops an incredibly valuable scale? These lizards are back with a vengeance. I feel like finally they've evolved to a more dangerous state and are getting revenge for all their children that you've been killing in the past few games. That's my headcanon for it, at least. In terms of real story, their scale description says that, in rare cases, crystal lizards devour souls, growing to monstrous proportions. And you might be noticing, that short bow, it's a little bit better than it used to be, right? And it is. I really like this playstyle where you fall back for a few fast shots, and then when they close the gap, you slash at them with melee. It's proactive and varied and fun, and I really like the way weapon arts are shaping up so far. We use this same technique really soon against the boss of the tutorial, but first, let's admire a few things. First up, this arrow dodge. Hit detections are pretty on point. And second, these views. This build is running on PS4, and it's definitely one-upped Bloodborne graphically, in my opinion. And see that over there? That's the new Firelink shrine, and guarding it is Judex Gundyr, the Ashen Judge. Within his chest is the coiled sword. This sword is only bequeathed to chosen Ash, as judged by the Judex, who awaits the arrival of Ash as a scabbard. And to quote another item description, his back has become a growing seedbed for darkness. It doesn't feel right to commentate this first fight, so enjoy. Did you see what happened at the end there? That little moment where I checked for arrows threw me off so much. It stopped me dodging, and I think it stopped me killing him too. Good fight though, right? I was pretty on point with my parries, but that dagger made the fight really tough. Didn't do so well with my parries in the second fight. I gotta admire this guy's moveset and animations though. In my final fight, I remembered that this black tar monster is pretty susceptible to fire. before we get into Firelink Shrine, get a load of Dingy Dan over here. This guy is an absolute bastard. You thought the last boss was tough? Try fighting this naked dude with a katana. Whether it be the stun locking, my inability to parry him 3 times, his godlike ability to parry me. But after about 8 deaths, I found his, well, our weakness: gravity. Now, a lot of people are going to stubbornly kill this guy like I did, but a katana class weapon this early on is a pretty sweet reward, and compared to Bloodborne, I can confirm that this game is great at giving you a lot of weapons in the early game. I had access to over 30 in the first 3 hours, which is awesome. And finally, let's get into Firelink Shrine. And as we enter, pay special attention to the music. I loved how it intertwined with the dialogue of the characters and the tone it lends to this place.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots. Don't you think?
The Lords of Cinder awoke, but turned their backs on their thrones and their duty. It's our job to bring them back.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I'm a firekeeper. I tend to the flame and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them. To this end I am at thy side. Farewell, Ashen One.
I got so nostalgic when I saw Andre at the end of this tunnel. I ran straight past one of the hags from Dark Souls 2 and went to talk to our old blacksmith from Dark Souls 1.
Well, a newcomer, I see. I am Andre. I serve at this shrine as a humble smith, forging weapons. You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith, such is my purpose. Prithee, be careful. I don't want to see my work squandered.
The blacksmith fulfills really familiar tasks, plus the ability to choose how many of each Estus flask you'd like.
A pleasure to make thine acquaintance, Ashen One. I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells. I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler. And yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away.
The torch is the most appropriate thing to buy here for now, but I am definitely eyeing that key that requires 20k souls. The handmaiden also extends her wares when you bring her ash. Ashes are the remains of heroes you find on your journey, and the new items she gets pertain to the type of ash that you bring.
Is it not our sorry fate to sup on death?
So, the thrones belong to the Lords of Cinder who abandoned them, and very fittingly, they all seem to resemble gravestones, for to sit upon them means sacrificing yourself to link the fire. You're the giant of the profaned capital, the largest throne, of course. Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers, you can see their swords littered upon their throne. Holy King Lothric, last hope of his line. Aldrich, Saint of the Deep. You can see the almost plastic-like covering around it, protecting it from his body. And finally, Ludleth the Exiled, who apparently still remains on his throne.
O thou unkindled, and a seeker of lords, I am Ludleth of Corland. Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder. If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my charred corpse. This sad cadaver, no need to be coy. Have a closer look. Knowest thou of our purpose? 5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the fire. The fast-fading flame must be licked to preserve this world. A reenactment of the first linking of the fire. So it is, I became a Lord of Cinder. I may be but small, but I will die a Colossus.
Leveling up remains much the same, but there's the addition of the Luck stat, which makes a return from Demon Souls. Luck increases item drop rates, as well as a few other minor things, probably. And while we level up, the Firekeeper is chanting something.
Let these souls withdrawn from their vessels, manifestations of disparity, elucidated by fire, burrow deep within me, retreating to a darkness beyond the reach of flame. Let them assume a new master, inhabiting ash, casting themselves upon new forms. Let these Ashen One produce the coiled sword at the bonfire. The mark of ash will guide thee to the land of the lords, to Lothric, where the homes of the lords converge.
So, that was Firelink, our new home for Dark Souls 3, and unlike in previous Dark Souls games, it doesn't seem to be connected to the rest of the world, so the closest comparison to this hub will be Demon Souls, since that game had a disconnected hub that you send NPCs back to. But to me, the strongest part of Dark Souls was its intertwined, interconnected world and areas, including the hub. So if this is a step away from that, then I'm honestly a little bit disappointed, because the ability to warp to every checkpoint from a disconnected hub is definitely going to affect exploration and world design. Regardless though, time will tell if this is a problem or not. And once again, we fight our way through the high wall of Lothric, where the homes of the Lords of Cinder converge, and most of you have seen this area, but there are some new things. For example, all the enemies now drop items, and since I chose the gold coins as my gift, I ended up being able to increase my luck, and I got really, really lucky with my drops. I'm gonna come right out and say it. Out of all the footage that comes out of this event on March 1st, I reckon we end up with the most fashionable character. Consider that a challenge to the other uploaders, I guess. And of course, since all these items dropped for me, I can teach us a lot about the Lothric Knights. These Knights of Lothric, with their drakes, once crushed anything that threatened their shores. Of course, that was a long, long time ago. The Knight has served as one of the 3 pillars since ancient times, and shares place alongside the Wyverns as a symbol of Lothric. On the flip side though, the Lothric Knights are also said to have contended with the dragons, and their shields have lightning resistance, which is befitting of a dragon slayer's arms. Their crossbows are also blessed with the power of lightning, in anticipation of the use of lightning bolts, which we know are effective against dragons. So they fight with and against dragons, and the Lightning Urn explains this to us. It tells us that the Knights of Lothric have since tamed dragons, but were once hunters of dragons. And finally, they worshipped the sun. So many connections here between Lothric, the land of the lords, lightning, sun, Gwyn. It's all here. As we enter Lothric Castle, we expect the Dancer of the Frigid Valley, but now, in her place is Emma, who sits beneath a restricted ladder leading deeper into Lothric Castle, a castle rumoured to devour men.
The wait has been long, unkindled one. I am Emma, High Priestess of Lothric Castle. Allow me to speak frankly. You will not find the Lords of Cinder here. They have left, gone, to their churning homes converging at the base of this castle. Head to the bottom of the high wall, forge on through the great gate, and raise this banner to proceed. This farewell gift is for you. It is the insignia of an old covenant. If you fear trespassers, dark spirits drawn by the embers, then etch this upon your heart, and the old Concord will beckon noble blue sentinels to hunt these foul spirits.
Covenants are now changeable on the fly, which is great. There's an inventory slot that holds your allegiance.
Unkindled one, head to the high wall's base. Go through the great gate and raise this banner to proceed. But beware, the dog keeps a close eye on things. The vile watchdog of the Boreal Valley.
In episode 2, we face off against the Vile Watchdog, and we find an old friend in a tower. I can't wait to show you guys that, it's going to be amazing. I don't usually ask for this, but if you could leave a like, that would be so fantastic. I really want this series to do well, and this series is going to get better come March 24th when the Japanese version comes out, because I won't have time restrictions on the amount of content I can upload, so we'll be able to go more in depth on so many of the interesting things that I've had to cut out of this series in the name of time restrictions. You guys have no idea how hard it is to cut down like 6 hours of footage to a mere 45 minutes or so. That's been really tough. And also, having the full game on March 24th means I'll be able to record at my own pace, not just in one big sitting, so the production value will go up, and I just want to say thank you for supporting this series, thank you for watching, thanks for being patrons if you are, and I'll see you in the next one.